Hi, Kim Darwaza here, your Northern Virginia realtor. And tonight I am going to talk about one of the questions I've been getting lately, which is, should I write a letter with my offer? Which we affectionately call buyer love letters. And what they are a letter that a buyer will write thinking that the seller will identify with them and pick their contract over others. So these can be good and bad. So I just want to give you some things to think about. First of all, as a listing agent, because they're technically not part of the contract, I don't have to give them to the seller. I'm not obligated to. I personally would tell them if I received one because that's the way I operate, but not all agents will present them to the sellers. And the main reason is because they don't want a fair housing violation against them because the seller gets sued because they pick someone who is not of a certain ethnicity or something like that. So we have protected classes in Virginia, which are race, color, religion, sex, handicapped, familiar status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And you cannot discriminate against anyone based on these things. So technically, if you got an offer higher, better terms, and you said, I don't want to pick this contract because the person falls in one of these categories, then you can have a fair housing violation and a lawsuit on your hands. So just something to think about. When I present my offers to my sellers, I always do it offer 1, offer 2, offer 3. I leave off the names, so then that way there is, and usually I do a spreadsheet kind of thing, so there's not, if someone comes back and tries to sue me or says I did this, I have proof that I did not. So it's just something to think about. A lot of times sellers, you may write this letter thinking that you're doing yourself a favor, but the person might not identify with you. Like, if you say, we want to raise our family here and blah, blah, and maybe this person hates kids. I don't know. Or the person is a veteran and they want to sell their house to a veteran. There could be any number of reasons that they make their decision other than price and terms. So I really guide my clients to look at the price and the terms and not the actual person buying the property, just to keep us all safe from any litigation. Let's see what else. Oh, and some of them, they'll write these letters and then the buyer will say, oh yeah, we missed out on a house. We love this neighborhood. We see ourselves raising our kid. And they'll write these sappy things, pull at your heartstrings. And I heard an agent said that they got a letter like that and the person turned around and flipped the property. So the letter was like a complete fabricated lie just to get the property. So you have to keep that in mind too. People are, still getting cold feet too. They're getting out on it because they have to make decisions so quickly. And then it becomes, I think with a lot of people, it becomes about winning after a while. And I always advise my clients, this is a financial decision and a financial investment that we have to think long-term, and it's not about winning. And there's a point where I'm going to tell you, it doesn't make sense for you to do this, but obviously you do whatever you want. So people will say, oh yes, I'll pay this, this, and then they win, and then they have buyer's remorse. And so they back out on home inspection because you just have to do the inspection, but the house can be completely trouble-free, and you can just say, I'm getting out on home inspection. You just have to provide the report. Or they can get out on HOA or condo docs, which we have, most of the places around here have that, and they just say, I'm getting out. There doesn't have to be any particular reason. So that's another thing to think about. you can make, I've heard people making deposits non-refundable so that that doesn't happen as much, but you'd have to have a really hot property for that, with people who are putting down $10,000-$15,000 where they are okay just walking away on their deposit, which that was happening back during when people would buy. This was back before the mortgage crisis. People put contracts on new construction properties that would take 7, 8, 9 months to build. And then by the time it was ready for them to buy them, the property was selling for $100,000 less than what their contract price was. And they don't adjust that. So they would walk on like a $50,000 deposit because they'd rather lose $50,000 than $100,000. So people are doing a little bit, not really in the $50,000, but like $10,000 deposits. So just something else to think about. Also, I've heard of people offering like experiences or or tickets to concerts or something that they might have access to that's really just something that's difficult to get. I think the PlayStation, like over Christmas, so someone might say, if you pick our contract, we'll give you the whatever PlayStation or whatever. So that's not unheard of. Not unheard of to pay the seller's closing costs. So those are the main things. So you really have to be careful of the consequences if you do read these letters, and to make sure that you are in compliance with Article 10 of the ethics, and that you don't have a fair housing violation, because there are what we call testers out there. So the government basically gives $40 million in grants to people, and it is their job to pretend like they are buying or selling their house, and they're testing us as agents to make sure that we don't commit a fair housing violation. So it's their job to like catch us slipping up. So I have to be, and they'll like test you, and they'll keep testing you, and then once you sort of pass the test, then they stop, and I've never had it happen to me, but they'll stop and say, look, I'm a tester, I'm not really buying the property. So it's a real legit concern. So anyways, I just wanted to share both sides of that with you guys today, so you can make educated decisions when it comes to those letters. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to call, text, or email me, PM me, and I'll be happy to answer them. And thanks for watching.